Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We are honored to have Yair Golan speak to Temple Emmanuel, and in particular, the Israel Action Committee would like to thank Avi Seidman for making this possible and for organizing this event. I will turn it over to Avi to introduce our speaker. Avi, bevakasha.
Toda rabba, thank you, and I'm glad you've all taken time away from your weekend schedule to join us, and there'll be opportunity to ask questions, Yair. This is
Avi, I apologize for interrupting, but if people do have questions, they should send them to on the chat to Temple Emmanuel, and I will keep tabs on them, and when we have Q&A, I will be asking the questions on your behalf. Yeah. Sorry.
You can express question or how you feel about this difficult situation that we are all being faced with. This is our first Temple Emmanuel military or political briefing in the Iron Sword War of 2023. I have in my house 20 guests who are watching it on the big screen television, some of whom I was sitting in the house in the Sukkah, beginning of Sukkot, and it feels like 1,000 years ago. So much have changed. And I want to thank General Yair Golan for taking time from what I know is a very busy schedule. I know you have 2 boys in the army in the fighting units, and a lot of burden on us as parents. And thank you for being part of it. General Yair Golan has a very long and highly distinguished career. Most of his life he served in the IDF in Israel, in Tzahal. Last role was Deputy General, the Chief of Staff of the Army. And Yair has a very unique perspective on what goes on in recent events. As many of you already know, Yair happened to hear about the incursion by Hamas early on October 7, took his Toyota car, his uniform, his gun, and drove over just to be of help. He's a retired general. Many of you know his heroic story of rescuing young people from the events over there in the border, the music party, and so on. We asked Yair to give us perspective. How did we get to where we are? What happened on the 7th? What's going on now as Israel is fighting very difficult war with several fronts? There are about 200,000 refugees within Israel that had to be moved away from their home to temporary shelters. Nobody knows for how long. So it's a very challenging situation. And there's also a question, what should we do months from now after the success with Gaza and hopefully uprooting the Hamas as much as one can do it. So Yair, thank you very much. And please give Yair a big hand and thank you for coming here. Yeah. Microphone is yours.
Hello, everybody. I'm very glad to be with you this evening in Israel. And it's really a great honor for me. And thank you very much for joining. I would like to start with the future while using the past as a kind of inspiration. Israel should reinvite itself as a homeland for all the Jewish people, and at the same time, free, egalitarian, and democratic state. This is the main purpose of our existence. And I know that right now you are experiencing a wave of anti-Semitism, probably the worst since the Second World War. And I would like to express my feelings concerning that. We should stand together in Israel, in the United States of America, and elsewhere in order to cope with all things in the world which are wrong and undemocratic, against freedom, and so on and so on. And I start with that only in order to say that, in a way, this blow, this military failure and this national failure on October 7th is a kind of a wake-up call for all of us. We should do things differently, and we should concentrate on a better future, a safer future, in order to reinvent the Zionist dream. This is my perception concerning our current situation. I would like to start with the main two security threats or security challenges for Israel. First, I would like to start with the Iranian threat. Iran is not an enemy like we ever met before. It's a matter of distance. It's more than 1,000 kilometers to our east. It's a huge country, bigger than France and the UK together. It's a country with much natural resources, 19% of gas reserve on Earth, 11% of oil reserve on Earth, much uranium in its mountains, and many, many others materials. But the most important thing concerning the Iranians, they enjoy vast human resources. It's not about their 84 million people. It's also about the quality of their academics. It's also about the quality of its industry. It's also about their ability to re-engineer almost everything. I mean almost everything, including American and Israeli drones. So it is an enemy we never ever met before. And this enemy has many proxies in the region. In Lebanon, the Hezbollah. In Syria, Shiite militias from Iraq, from Afghanistan, and from Pakistan. In Yemen, the Houthis. And in Iraq, all kind of Shiite militias, which holds all kind of missiles and rockets to a range of more than 500 kilometers. So it is a major threat for Israel, and it is a rising threat with their alliance with Russia, with the backup from China, with the improved relationship with Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, and other Arab nations. This is a major threat for Israel. So probably, and while it's an enemy we cannot reconcile because we have no dispute with the Iranians, we should take into account that in the next decades, we are going to cope with the Iranian threat. And in order to do that, we need vast military capability, very good foreign affairs, and of course, a very strong strategic ally. And the strategic ally for Israel is the United States of America. So therefore, our relationship to the United States of America are so important, so crucial. And I cannot see an Israeli government which is not bipartisan. I cannot see any Israeli government that do not recognize the importance of this alliance. So yes, I think you have a role concerning, the facilitation of these ongoing relationship, and at the same time, it should be a major interest for Israel and for any Israeli government. In order to enhance this alliance against Iran, we should be on the initiative concerning the Palestinian challenge, concerning the Palestinian threat. And here we need to distinguish between those elements in the Palestinian arena which are not reconcilable, and at the same time, we need to distinguish and recognize that there are Palestinians who need to be in contact, we need to be in some sort of mutual relationship which are positive and provide more security to the state of Israel. And of course, I include in that the Palestinian Authority. So, for the Palestinians, and of course for Israel, we need to be led by the vast moderate majority in order to sideline all extremist elements and in order to provide some sort of a positive future for both people. I think this is the main perception should lead any Israeli future government. I would like to say a few words about the main goals of this ongoing campaign against Hamas. The first goal is to destroy the military wing of Hamas. According to my perception, it won't be done by days or by weeks or even by months. It's a matter of years. Yes, up to now, the military operation north of the Gaza River is very successful, but this is not enough. We won't be able, probably, to fight effectively on land and in the subterranean, the Hamas infrastructure south of the Gaza River. Because the area south of the Gaza River is totally dense with population, because we have the issue of the hostages, and because the humanitarian issue is on the verge. So the way I look at this ongoing campaign, it's a war that will last for months, maybe years. There will be ups and downs concerning the military operations, but we cannot free our reserves and lessen the military pressure until we will be able to ensure our civilians that it's safe enough to return back to their villages and to their kibbutzim and to their towns near the border of the Gaza Strip. So this is the first goal. The second goal is to prevent a build-up process from Hezbollah and the Jihadic Islam in the coming years. We have no intention to refight Hamas and Jihadic Islam in months or years or few years from now. This is totally unacceptable. The meaning of that, in order to minimize this ability to renew the build-up process, is by some sort of reliable entity along the border between Egypt and the Gaza Strip. I can tell you the following. I traveled a lot on October 7th along the combating scenes. It was unbelievable. All Hamas terrorists were heavily equipped with the most sophisticated and new Russian weapons, including anti-aircraft missiles, anti-tank missiles, anti-tank rockets, mines, hand grenades, and everything else. Just unbelievable. It's not some sort of old weapon remained from the Yom Kippur War or from the Six-Day War. It was totally new. And it came from the Sinai Peninsula, that's for sure. This is something we need to ensure that won't happen again. The third goal is to free up all our hostages. And this goal could be in contract with the other goals. So it's highly complicated, very, very sensitive. We cannot handle it, through the media, and it's very, unrealistic to discuss it openly in public discussions. It's a matter of under-the-table negotiations, which will include Qatar and Saudi Arabia and Egypt and maybe other entities in the region. Very, very complicated. But I would like to emphasize that one of the main goals of this military campaign is to free up all our hostages. The fourth goal is to keep this campaign between us and Hamas. Yes, I know it's hard to isolate this scene. I know that Hezbollah is in the war fighting, and that includes also the Houthis in Yemen. But up to now, a full-scale campaign is only against Hamas, and we want to keep it at that level. Because, we are under, great provocations conducted by Hezbollah, by the Houthis, by other militias, Shiite militias in the region, by Iran, of course. But I would say that the fact that the US was moved very fast in order to deter Iran, and at the same time, in order to recommend Israel to keep this campaign as limited as possible, I would say that the prospects are quite good to keep this campaign in the scene of Hamas and Israel alone. I wouldn't say, this is something for sure. It could change easily, but it's one of the main goals of this war. The fifth goal is to recover all the encircling area around the Gaza Strip, all the kibbutzim and moshavim and towns around the Gaza Strip. It's complicated, very complicated. I moved from one community to other community for the last 3 weeks, and I can tell you, people are totally terrified. They are afraid to go back home, and we need to rebuild this trust and their self-confidence and their belief that they can live very close to the Gaza Strip. And that the situation is safe enough, although it's not 100%, it's safe enough in order to live there and flourish there and create prosperous communities. Very, very problematic. It's a national effort, and I would say this should be a national effort for the next 10 years. And I would say more than that the IDF, after losing the confidence of our own citizens, should be a prominent element in the recovery process. You remember many years ago, we used to have the Nahal, those soldiers who partly serve in uniform and partly works as farmers in the kibbutzim. We should renew this initiative because it's so important to the confidence, the self-confidence of our civilians. All these 5 goals should be in the larger picture of what should we do or what we shouldn't do concerning the destiny of Israel and the Palestinians. I would say, again, that in order to be ready to cope with external threats, we should solve the Palestinian issue once and for all. It won't be done by day or by months and even not by years, but we should initiate a new process. You should have some sort of reconciliation process with the Palestinians, and that should be according to the guidelines of two-state solution. It won't be done tomorrow morning, but we should define what is the national goal of Israel. Annexation is totally unacceptable. Separation, well, that could be done by civil separation while keeping security responsibility in our hands. I think it's safe. I think it's reasonable. I think it provides some sort of a vision, positive vision for both people, and therefore we should take the initiative as a strong and full of confidence nation. This is my perception concerning that. I would like to say a few words about something which could be heard as a strange issue concerning this discussion, and this is the Ukrainian crisis, the ongoing Ukrainian crisis. I would say that in Ukraine and in Israel, we see pretty much the same issue. A brutal attack by unreliable entity with all kind of violent approaches to the international arena, and the fact that the free world should fight this phenomena with all its means. And I claimed 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, that we should support, we Israelis, we should support Ukraine in its struggle against Russia. And today, I ask all nations around the globe to support Israel against Hamas, against Iran, against Hezbollah, and other proxies in the region. Probably these two crises will define the future of the West and the free world in the next few years. This is my perception. I think this is a hopefully it's a good enough survey of the current situation. And if you have question about the past, about the future, about the current situation, the ongoing war fighting in the Gaza Strip, so I'm ready to answer. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Yair. We've received several questions. One of which is wondering whether there is a sufficiently large number of moderates on the Palestinian side to make engagement with them realistic.
Well, I would say the following. We don't know exactly. But truly, we are much stronger than the Palestinians. So we need to try. We shouldn't, leave any stone without moving it from its current position. We should take the initiative. A strong and confident nation should take the initiative. This is the most important thing. And every future Israeli government should ask itself, in what a way I will be able to improve the security of the citizens of Israel. We won't take risks anymore. But we should take the initiative. And we should say to our citizens, if we stay in the same position, the rest of the world, and that's include the Palestinians, they will move on. And they will leave us in a situation of disadvantage. So we should take the initiative. We should define what is the initiative and what are the principles of this initiative. And here, I think that the main issue, and hopefully more and more citizens in Israel understand it today, that by the end of the day, if you look to eternity, if you look, at Israel, it's in its 100th anniversary, we should separate ourselves from the Palestinians in order to keep Israel a homeland for the Jewish people and at the same time, democratic, free, egalitarian state. This is the mission. This is, a realistic approach to our future. We cannot sustain some sort of messianic vision for the state of Israel. Messianism brought disasters upon the Jewish people over the history. And we should not accept it as a kind of a policy, political policy for any Israeli future government.
One person asks whether you believe that the upheaval caused by the dispute over judicial reform played any part in Hamas's decision to attack.
No doubt, the answer is totally positive. For the last 10 months before October 7th, Israel was in a process of self-destruction. We need to admit it. Those people who fight for the security of Israel right now, some of them were described as traitors, as deserters. This is totally unacceptable. We tore ourselves from the inside. And I think, from my perspective, it was mainly around two issues: corruption and extreme nationalistic approach to the destiny of Israel. A kind of a messianic approach. So yes, we should sideline corruption. We should sideline messianism. We should say, loud and clear that the future of our nation, and I think also the future of the American nation, depend on its ability to re-invite ourselves as democratic, egalitarian, free nations. No other way. In Israel, I always think, what will keep my kids living in Israel? And in order to keep in Israel young people, talented people, with all their capabilities, technological capabilities, scientific capabilities, and other, qualities, well, we should provide them some sort of modern good state. And we know what is modern good state is all about. It's about good economy, a flourishing economy. It's about cohesiveness of society. It's about this feeling that we are able to live with each other peacefully. It's about equality. It's about minimizing the gaps between the different groups in the society, and so on and so on. It's about, the quality of our civil services. And therefore, we need to go back to the basics. And the basic is so simple. We know what it is to be a good state.
Someone asks, how long can Israel fight wars when it has to rely on 300,000 reservists who are pulled from their civilian jobs?
I think that we can keep them, for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, not more than that. After that, the economical burden is just too heavy. So therefore, I claim that by the end of this military operation, we will see, an ongoing smaller operations for the next months at least, maybe for the next years. And that's in order to ensure and in order to secure the people who live along the borders of the Gaza Strip. Think about the following. What is to go back to Nir Oz, or to Kisufim, or to Kfar Aza, to Be'eri and other kibbutzim in the region? Think about it. How to convince a community that it's safe enough to live there. Well, in order to do that, we need to be on the offensive, not just on the defensive. And that will take time and effort. And therefore, I think that in the next coming years, we must invest more in security. So with such an economical burden, we will have less money for all kind of, less important goals. So it's a time to redefine the national goals of Israel. And I urge you to be part of this process. Because from my perspective, it's also very important to reestablish this alliance between Jews in Israel and Jews in this diaspora, between Israel as a state, as a nation, with its minorities and the diaspora. We should create or recreate this feeling of togetherness. And it's so important. I think you have a very important role concerning that. I can tell you that personally, I'm going to invest in it. It's so important. It's crucial to our existence. Yeah.
Do you see a parallel between what unfolded on October 7th and the unpreparedness that preceded the Yom Kippur War?
Well, I can assure you that with the future investigation of this terrible day, we will find many, many similarities between October 7th and October 6th. October 6th, of course, in 1973, October 7th, of course, in this year. Yes, there are similarities, and I think that the very basic issue is perceptions, false perceptions. When I look at the false perceptions of this current event, current war, I would say the following. There were political misperceptions and military misperceptions. The political misperceptions were two. First, that it's better for the destiny of Israel to weaken the Palestinian Authority and to enable the ongoing of build-up process for Hamas. That was totally wrong. The military misperceptions were that we will have always a kind of early warning, and that the level of readiness for such widespread brutal attack, we weren't ready for such an event. So I believe that we will see some sort of a military investigation in the coming weeks. I'm not so sure that we will be able to explore and to take the right conclusion out of the political misperceptions. Unfortunately, it's a matter of political process. And you probably noticed that political process is not so positive concerning exploring the truth. So if we want to be a healthy nation, we need to figure out what was and what is the truth behind this terrible day.
Okay, I'm going to ask you an impossible question, which is people are wondering what happens in Gaza after Hamas is destroyed. Does the PA have the capability of running Gaza? And if not, who will?
I would say the following. I don't think it's realistic to imagine a situation where tomorrow morning the Palestinian Authority take responsibility for the Gaza Strip. So I would say that we will have some sort of a temporary situation where regional responsibility or international responsibility will be the most important one. I don't know. I cannot portray, the exact procedure or the exact elements in this process. But, I can imagine a situation where Egyptian troops with Saudi Arabian troops with some sort of a UN involvement, keeping the border and at the same time enabling vast humanitarian aid support, something like this. Along these future weeks and months, the Palestinian Authority will be able to figure out in what a way they will deepen their involvement in the Gaza Strip. And at the same time, part of this process, how to weaken the Hamas grip on the Palestinian population in the Gaza Strip. Nothing here is for sure, nothing is easy, but I would say this is probably the future path of advance concerning the situation in the Gaza Strip. It will take also much financial funds in order to do something positive there. It's about housing, it's about sewage system, electricity system, and other crucial systems that should, improve the situation of the Gazans. Everything here is a matter of international effort. That's the way I look at this process. And I think it's also good for Israel to grow up to a situation of much international involvement, because we cannot allow anymore the Palestinian issue to be neglected, to be sidelined by other international prominent issues, because you can see, from this, close history, that anytime you leave this issue without the right treatment, it's inflamed and became, much larger and much more dangerous than you ever imagined before. So yes, there is a great challenge here, and I think probably one of the main missions of the current Israeli government is to start exploring the different opportunities for the near future in order to take our troops back out from the Gaza Strip, and while doing that in a safe and secure manner.
There are a number of questions about the future of the current Israeli government and what the political future of Israel is. And I know you have strong opinions of your own, but if you can step back and imagine what will happen in the near to moderate future as far as the government goes, and what will happen to that government.
Well, I would say the following. I heard this today, that Prime Minister Netanyahu compares himself to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, in a way that, all right, after Pearl Harbor, Roosevelt remained in office and led America in inspiring way through the Second World War. I don't think it's a good example, because Roosevelt, as far as I remember, enjoyed admiration from its people and much confidence from the American people. And this is not the case today in Israel. We after a very problematic internal political crisis in Israel, a crisis that tore the Israeli society and create a situation where many Israelis do not trust their government and do not trust their prime minister. Up to now, I said nothing which is political. I just, described the situation. So I would say that since the war on terror is going to be long, with ups and downs, with much complications. We need to solve our internal problems before we cope with future external challenges. How to do it? Is it a matter of the near future by some sort of political procedure, constructive, vote against the government and things like that? I don't know. I really don't know. But if I try to provide you my guess, well, I would say the following. Benjamin Netanyahu is not a person to resign from office. He has no intention to give up. He has no intention to take responsibility for what was happening in Israel in the last 11 months. I'm saying that no as a person who tried to criticize Netanyahu. This is, my feelings concerning my most intimate knowledge about this person, after hearing so much, after being with him in many, many discussions and meetings. So this is my thoughts concerning the situation with Benjamin Netanyahu. And I would say that therefore, the likelihood for further political crisis in Israel is quite large. Unfortunately, I do not know a nation in the history that managed to cope with external formidable threats without solving its internal challenges. And right now we have to admit that we have a very prominent internal challenge that we need to solve. We need to cope with it. I think it's a matter of realism. It's a matter of, rational survey of reality, internal and external in Israel. It's not a matter of, political approach. And it's not enough to say that, all right, in time of war, we are all united and we are brother in arms and so on and so on. Because tomorrow morning, after the last shot in the Gaza Strip, we will be back with the same political problems, with the same national challenges, with the same political figures. And therefore, we need to do something extremely positive in the inside in order to be better coping with the outside.
You started your presentation talking about Iran and the issue of Iran obtaining nuclear weapons has sort of been swept to the side momentarily, but it still looms large. What do you think can be done about it?
Well, it's all about international effort. Part of it could be done by Israel alone, but not everything. So my vision is the following. We need to be part of a coalition against Iran with the more moderate nations in the Middle East. This is the time to strengthen our relationship with all the complexity right now, with Jordan, with Egypt, with Saudi Arabia, with the United Emirates, with Oman, with Oman, sorry, and maybe with other nations. We should be in the same line with any American administration. we should be in a close relationship with Azerbaijan, with Armenia, with India, and maybe with others, to take the opportunity to create something new with other nations. All that in order to cope with the Iranian front. And again, we need to think in terms of alliances. This is the main issue, or probably the main change in our security perceptions. Alliances. And dealing with, with your allies, well, it's not about seeing the same situation and coming to the same conclusion in any case. It's complicated. It's a demand, strong leadership, a moderate approach to any problem in the region, the willingness to put ahead diplomatic effort before military effort, and at the same time, be extremely ready with full preparedness for any deterioration in the region.
And again, speaking about Iran and its proxies, what can be done about the threat on the northern border?
It's a very complicated question, because on the one hand, because of the brutal attack of Hamas, people who live along the northern border are terrified by the same possibility conducted by Hezbollah. And from their perspective, and they are right, it's totally unacceptable. So what Israel should do? Preemptive attack on Hezbollah tomorrow morning, 3 days from now, a week from now, a month from now? What should we do? It's a very complicated question, because it is not just about attacking Hezbollah. It's about the prospects of much larger campaign against Iran and its other proxies in the region that could brought in also the United States of America and maybe other nations. So I would say that before jumping to any conclusion, first and foremost, Israel and America should be in the same line. So Israel should adopt or readopt bipartisan approach to any American administration. Israel should say loud and clear that the unique relationship between Israel and America are part of its own self-perception of a main and maybe the most important national interests. And I think, again, that the role of the Jews who live in the United States, in Northern America, is absolutely crucial to the destiny of Israel.
Is there anything specific that you would encourage American Jews to do to help Israel? People in this congregation are doing what they can to help, and are perennially wondering whether they should be doing more.
Well, I would say the following. The most important need is to fix our society, to fix our political system. Much more important than, providing more, I don't know, more sophisticated helmets for the IDF. I know that you did remarkable job concerning, urgent support for Israel. But I would say that was the first wave. Now we should think rationally about the future. And I think that you, as part of the free world, with free world values, with, I think, much understanding how to build flourishing communities, well, we need you here. Not, necessarily physically, but we need your ideas, we need your perceptions, we need your insights. We need your help here in Israel to be part of the renewing process of Israel. I think Israel is important. I think Israel is important for all the Jewish people, and we should come a stronger nation out of this crisis. This is something we need to promise each other. This is something we need to work hard in order to make it happen. It's not a kind of, some sort of emotional talk for this evening here in Israel. It's about realistic approach to future. And we need to work together in order to build together a better future. We lost the way. In a way, we lost the way. And we need to be back on the right path. The right path for modernity, the right path of, renewing Jewish thinking here in Israel. It's about looking at the different, elements in the Israeli people in a more egalitarian manner. I think that Reform Jews and conservative Jews should live in Israel and should feel in Israel as equal and, without any problems concerning their ability to contribute to our future. This is a kind of a vision we need. And, I remember the late Prime Minister Sharon, when he came to power, when he entered the office of the Prime Minister, and at that time, I commanded the Judea and Samaria division. So I had few meetings with him. And I remember him saying over and over again, I'm the Prime Minister of the Jewish people. He never said, I'm the Prime Minister of Israel. I'm the Prime Minister of the Jewish people. And I want any future Prime Minister in Israel say the same. Not because you are citizens of Israel or not, because it's a kind of a self-perception. It's a perception of responsibility, a deep responsibility to the destiny of all the Jewish people. And I think this is the right thing, the right way to think about our future, our common future.
I'm going to ask one last question. I know that you've been visiting communities that are concerned about their security, and I was wondering if you could share what you've heard and what you had to say to them.
You want to make me cry?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's tough. Believe me, it's very tough. Because I moved from community to community all over Israel. And I sit down for hours with different people. hearing their stories, cry with them. It's very tough. These people experience something which is unbelievable. They went through a massacre with unbelievable brutality, and they survive. It's something they never expected. They lost, their wives, their husbands, their kids, their parents, their friends, their relatives. It's really tough. Last Thursday, I visited Yocheved Lifshitz from Nir Oz. She lost her husband. He was kidnapped after got injured in Nahal Oz, in Nir Oz. She's 85. 85. It's unbelievable. What a strength, internal strength this little woman had. Unbelievable. She was determined to remember everything. So she wrote down in her mind, in her brain, what was happening. She counted every step. She counted every door she passed through. She was able to provide the intelligence corps so many details. It's almost unbelievable. And I can tell you, they want to speak. They want their voice to be heard. And especially the families of the kidnapped people. This is a devastating situation right now in Israel. Think about it. How difficult is to think about your husband or your kid or your relative in the hands of Hamas or Jihadic Islam or any Gazian Hamula family inside the Gaza Strip, somewhere in a tunnel, the subterranean. Really, really hard. So I think that in a way, we should be with them all the time. We need to encourage them. We need to support them. So I urge you, to do your best in order to be with them today and tomorrow and the day after. And thank you very, very much. I think it's this discussion for me was very important. Hopefully, I managed to describe the situation with my poor English, but I believe that we all together develop better understanding of what was happening to us on October 7th and in the last year and in the last 20 years, and where are we heading, and where we should go. And I would say it, for the 20th time, together. Let's do this journey together. Thank you very much.
Before we go, I believe Avi wanted to say another word. Avi, can you unmute? Avi? Can you unmute?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I would like to thank you, Yair, for giving an outstanding overview. I spent hundreds of hours listening to the Israeli channels 11, 12, and 13. I skipped 14. And you have given an overview that I must admit I haven't heard from anybody else. And thank you for putting all the thoughts and perspective on this very difficult junction for the future of Israel and for us as the people here. I know you spent some time at Harvard University studying here in Greater Boston area. And as alumni of Harvard, I can tell you that they're changing the course under a lot of pressure from the community, cutting anti-Semitism, cutting anti-Israeli slogans. But I still see parade on Newbury streets, people screaming in a violent way from the river to the sea, blah, blah, blah. I won't even repeat it. So we see a lot of hatred coming in. So this conflict is also in our backyard, in our colleges. And even some of our Jewish kids are supporting some of those Palestinian claims for liberty, which makes it very difficult for parents and families. But I want to thank you. If we can be of any support to build a new vision of Israel, we're here. And you're always welcome to come in person to Temple Emmanuel. Our doors are open. And we would like to see you in person sooner than later. Thank you, Yair, and Litraut.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks
Thank
everyone
you.
for coming.
Thank you.